Before the story starts, I need you to do something. Check your phone. Just unlock it for a second. Did you get a notification? Even a silent one? A badge? A pop-up? A vibration you're not sure you actually felt? If you didn't, good. If you did, don't open it. Not until I finish this. Because 3 nights ago I got a notification that wasn't from any app I have installed. It didn't come from my phone at all. It came from right behind me. And if what happened to me is happening to you too, you'll feel it before you see it. The last notification. To part 1. My name is Alex. I'm 29, and until last year, I would have sworn nothing supernatural had ever happened to me. Nothing even close. I lived alone in a small 1-bedroom apartment outside Boston, the kind of place with thin walls, cheap heating, and that faint smell of old paint that never quite goes away. I worked IT support for a mid-sized company downtown. You know, the glamorous world of asking people if they've tried turning it off and back on, resetting passwords, pretending to look busy while waiting for tickets to come in. My life was painfully ordinary, predictable, quiet, and I liked it that way. The story begins on a Tuesday evening. I remember it clearly because Tuesdays were my stupid little reset days. The days when I'd convince myself to start eating healthy, to plan my tasks, to open a new Google Doc titled New Habits, and never touch it again. That night, I sat at my desk, answering a couple emails with a YouTube video running in the background. The room was dim, except for the computer monitor's cold light. My cheap Android phone, cracked corner, half-dead battery, lay face up on the table. At 10:41 p.m., it vibrated. I glanced at it automatically, expecting an Instagram notification or a message from my boss. But the screen showed something I'd never seen before. No app icon, no name, just a gray circle, and 3 words: "Don't drink that." I frowned. I wasn't drinking anything. Then I turned my head and noticed the mug of tea I'd brewed, forgotten, and left sitting near the keyboard. I picked it up. The tea was lukewarm, a thin film forming on the surface. I raised the mug toward my lips. The phone buzzed again. I said, "Don't." I froze, hand suspended midair. A cold, unpleasant ripple went through my body, the kind you get when you sense something is wrong before you understand why. I put the mug down. My brain immediately kicked into rational mode. Some random app bug, a leftover notification from something I uninstalled, glitch, spam, malware, anything except something real. I tapped the notification. Nothing opened. I swiped down to check my notification history. It wasn't there. No app name, no trace, no log, nothing. I checked installed apps, checked permissions, checked Play Store history. Everything was normal. I even took a screenshot, planning to show a coworker later and laugh about it. But I never sent that screenshot, because the next notification came 2 days later. And that one proved this wasn't a glitch. This was something else. Something watching me. Something that knew what would happen before I did. Part 2. 2 days passed without anything strange happening. By Thursday evening, I'd almost convinced myself the whole thing had been a one-off bug. Phones glitch all the time, Android especially. I wasn't special. Nothing supernatural was happening to me. At around 8 o'clock that night, I put a frozen pizza in the oven. That was about as far as my culinary ambitions went. I set the timer for 12 minutes, slipped my headphones on, and sat back down at my desk. The apartment was quiet, unusually quiet. No yelling from the neighbors, no traffic outside, just the hum of my computer. At 8:03 p.m., my phone vibrated again. That same gray circle, no app name. The message read, "In 7 minutes, your oven will catch fire." This time, the jolt of fear hit instantly. Not a subtle shiver, but a physical punch to the gut. I got up so fast my chair rolled back and hit the wall. In the kitchen, the oven glowed orange behind its glass door. Nothing looked wrong at first. The pizza was bubbling, cheese browning slightly at the edges. But when I opened the oven, a sharp, acrid smell hit me. Not quite smoke yet, but the smell of something almost burning. I pulled the tray out quickly. The parchment paper lining the tray had curled upward and darkened at the edges, one section already nearly charred. If it had touched the heating element, I might have had a much bigger problem. Hard hammering, I checked the time. 8:10 p.m., exactly 7 minutes. I stared at the phone in my hand. The screen was dark, the notification gone, as if it had never existed. Something in me cracked at that moment. A small but important piece of my rational explanation shield fell away. I tried to tell myself it was coincidence, that I'd subconsciously smelled something burning, and my brain made the rest up. That maybe the message arrived after I had already sensed danger. But deep down, I knew. It wasn't coincidence. It wasn't subconscious perception. It was knowledge. Foreknowledge. And it was about to get worse. Saturday night, that weekend, I went out for drinks with a few friends. Nothing unusual. A couple beers, stupid conversations, the usual. I ordered an Uber home around midnight. It dropped me off outside my building, a small, older apartment complex with a glass door that didn't always close properly. The hallway beyond was dim and smelled faintly of dust and detergent. As I stepped inside, my phone buzzed again. Same gray icon. Don't go up to your apartment yet. I froze mid-step. Another buzz. Check the front door. I turned slowly and looked back at the glass entrance door. It was ajar. Barely, maybe a centimeter, but enough to be noticeable now that I was paying attention. If it wasn't fully closed, anyone could have slipped inside behind me. The kind of thought that makes the back of your neck go cold. I walked back, grabbed the loose handle, and pulled the door shut until it clicked. The sound echoed down the empty stairwell. My phone buzzed. That's better. A chill ran up my spine so sharp it almost hurt, because this wasn't a warning about something that might happen. This wasn't a prediction. This was an evaluation, a judgment. Something that saw what I was doing. Something aware. Something close. That night, I locked my apartment door with every latch and deadbolt I had, turned on all the lights, sat at my desk, staring at my phone, waiting for something else to happen. Nothing did. The screen stayed black. No notifications. Silence. And somehow, that silence felt even worse. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak of the building made my heart stop. Every shadow looked like it might move if I blinked too slowly. I kept telling myself, it's just coincidences, just glitches, just paranoia. But a part of me, the quiet, instinctive part, whispered, it's watching. Part 3. Sunday evening, I woke up late on Sunday. Or, at least, woke up isn't the right word. I never actually fell asleep. I just drifted in and out, half-conscious, nerves stretched so tight, it felt like my bones hummed. By evening, I'd convinced myself things were quiet again. Normal, predictable. I ordered takeout, sat on the couch, scrolled on my phone, watched stupid videos. The apartment felt calm for the first time in days. At 7:31 p.m., my phone buzzed. I expected a food delivery update. Instead, I saw, "Don't answer any calls from your mom today." I laughed out loud. Not because it was funny, but because it was so absurd, so specific, and so stupidly impossible. My mom rarely called me on Sundays. She had her own routines, her own schedule. If she needed something, she texted first. Besides, what reason could there possibly be? I tossed the phone aside and forgot about it. until at 7:33 it rang. The caller ID said, "Mom." The laugh that came out of me this time was shaky, nervous, thin. Like something inside me recognized the threat before my brain did. I stared at the screen. The ringtone echoed through the quiet apartment. Something felt wrong. Deeply wrong. My thumb hovered over the green button, and I pressed it. A decision I regret more than almost anything in my life. "Hey, Mom," I said. Silence. No background noise. No breathing. Just flat emptiness. Then, a rustling sound, like someone dragging the phone across a table. "Mom?" I repeated. A moment later, I heard her voice, except it wasn't really her voice. It sounded like her pitch, her tone, her age, but flattened, stripped of humanity, like someone had built her voice out of pre-recorded syllables. "Hello, sweetheart," it said. A cold wave rolled through me. Everything inside my brain screamed, not her. She always called me Alex, never sweetheart. She always filled silences with little noises, breaths, hums, sighs, tiny signs of life. This voice had none of that. "Are you okay?" I asked slowly. A full 3-second pause. Then, "I'm fine," the voice answered. Are you eating well?" The words were right. The rhythm was wrong. Too smooth, too evenly spaced, like text to speech with my mom's tone. "Mom," I said, throat tightening. "Where are you right now?" Another long, unnatural pause. Then more rustling, harsher this time, and faint, in the distance, her real voice. "Why is my phone on? Hello? Hello?" My stomach dropped. I felt my skin prickle. The line disconnected. I stared at the screen. The call log showed, "Incoming, 16 seconds." My mom called me, except she didn't. Someone, or something, had. I called her on WhatsApp immediately. She answered on the second ring. "Hey, honey, what's up?" "You didn't call me?" I asked. "No, I'm in the kitchen." My phone was charging in the other room. The timestamp of the fake call sat on my screen, real as anything. Something out there knew my mother's voice, knew how to imitate it, knew how to call me, and it wanted me to pick up. The next warning. I spent the rest of Sunday pacing the apartment, checking locks, checking windows, peeking through the peephole every 5 minutes. I didn't want to check the phone. I didn't want to know what would come next. But around midnight, when I finally collapsed onto the bed, my phone vibrated once more. One gray icon. One line. "Don't open your bedroom door at 3:14. I stared at it for a long time. My heart was already pounding, and it wasn't even close to 3 a.m. yet. I tried to stay awake, but exhaustion dragged me under. When the vibration woke me again, it was exactly 3:09 a.m. The room was dark. The phone screen glowed faintly with the same notification. My breath hitched. 5 minutes. I sat up slowly, every muscle tight. Outside the bedroom door, the apartment was silent. Then came the knock. Soft, deliberate. 3 slow taps on my front door. Tuck, tuck, tuck. My heart seemed to stop. Another knock, but this time the third tap scraped downward. A long, slow drag across the wood. Like nails. The room felt colder, the shadows deeper. My phone buzzed on its own. "Don't move." I didn't. I couldn't. The knocking stopped, but the silence that followed was worse. After a few seconds, I heard it. Breathing. Not from the hall, not from the front door. Right outside my bedroom door. A slow inhale, a slow exhale. Measured. Calm. As if it knew I was listening. I clamped a hand over my mouth and sat frozen, pulse pounding so loud I thought the thing outside might hear it. Minutes passed. Maybe 5. Maybe 50. Eventually, the breathing faded. The air eased, and I felt, rather than heard, the moment it moved away. But I didn't sleep again. Not that night. Not for many nights. Part 4. Morning finally came, though it felt less like sunrise and more like a dim light bulb being slowly turned up in a haunted house. I sat on the edge of the bed, feeling hollow, exhausted, and half convinced I'd imagined everything. But the details were too sharp to be dreams. The knocks, the scraping, the breathing, the message. I needed answers. And answers were the one thing I couldn't get by sitting in bed like a terrified child. So I went into IT support mode. When something breaks at work, you break it down logically. You follow the steps. You isolate the variable. That morning, I made coffee, dragged my laptop out, connected my phone with a cable, and started analyzing it like it was a corrupted server. Step 1. Check installed apps. I pulled up an ADB list of every package on the phone. System, user, hidden, everything. Sorted by install date. Nothing unusual, nothing new, nothing without a proper signature, no strange permissions, no weird background activity. Step 2. Run virus scans. 3 different security tools. 1 online scanner. 1 sandbox run. All of them came back clean. Step 3. Check notification logs. Android stores notification history, if you know where to look. I dug through every log file. The emails were there, the reminders, the social media alerts. But the gray circle notifications weren't. Not a trace. Almost like they bypassed the operating system entirely. At this point, a creeping sense of dread settled in. I suddenly felt like a child checking under his bed, realizing the monster might not hide around you. It might already be inside the room. I turned to the internet. On a small tech forum I sometimes visited, I made a detailed post. Does anyone know how an app could send notifications without appearing in system logs? No installation record, no background processes. This is on a custom ROM. Anyone seen something like this? I waited. Finally, someone replied. Might be a debug service from the ROM. I had phantom notifications show up once, probably a dev leftover. For about 90 minutes, I let myself believe that. A debug bug, a leftover process. Maybe I'd installed the wrong build of Lineage OS or something was misconfigured. I wanted it to be true so badly. But then the next message came. The warning about my mother. It was Sunday evening when I got the message telling me not to answer calls from my mom. The voice on the phone, the fake one, had been bad enough. But later that night, when my mom called for real, confirming she hadn't dialed me earlier, a brutal truth settled in. Something out there could imitate her. Something out there wanted access to me. Something out there wanted me to open a door, literally or metaphorically, and something else wanted to stop it. I had no idea which side was which. That night, I set up 2 Wi-Fi cameras in my apartment, cheap little smart home devices I bought at a hardware store on sale. I mounted one by the entrance door and one in the living room aiming down the hallway. The setup process made me feel better. Seeing clean angles on my phone screen, empty hallway, empty front door, empty living room, gave me the illusion of control, even though I knew deep down that control was the last thing I had. That first night with cameras was calm. No knocks, no breathing, no warnings. For 3 nights, nothing unusual happened. The feeds always showed stillness, the kind of stillness that wasn't comforting, more like the world holding its breath. Then came Saturday, and the message that changed everything. Saturday night. It's already inside. At 11:52 p.m., I was on the couch debating whether to watch another episode of a show I didn't care about. The apartment was quiet. The only light came from the soft glow of the TV. My phone vibrated. I lifted it and saw, opened the living room camera. A bolt of fear shot down my spine. This was the first time the message is referred to right now. Not a prediction. Not a warning. A command. Hands shaking, I opened the camera feed. The view flickered for a second before stabilizing. Living room, couch, coffee table, a slice of hallway. Everything looked exactly the way it should. Except, in the lower right corner of the screen, near the entrance to the hallway, something felt wrong. A darker patch of shadow. Too tall, perfectly vertical. At first I thought it was a smudge on the camera lens, or a glitch in the dark areas. I zoomed in. The shape became sharper, still subtle, but unmistakably wrong. A human-shaped stack of darkness, like a person made of negative space. No edges, no outlines, just concentrated absence. Then it moved, not like a living thing, but like a malfunction. A jitter, a corrupted frame, a ripple. The feed skipped once, twice, and in one frozen flicker frame I saw it fully. A towering figure, too tall, too thin, leaning into the hallway, its head tilted impossibly far to one side. Where the face should be was a smooth, pale oval. And somehow, even with no eyes, I felt it stare at me. My breath stopped. The feed exploded into static for half a second. Pixels, noise, horizontal tears. Then the camera resumed. The hallway was empty. The figure was gone. My phone buzzed again. Don't move. My entire body went rigid. I slowly turned my head toward the real hallway. From the couch, I could see only the corner of it. Just the faintest slice of the darkness beyond. Nothing moved. Nothing made a sound. But something in the air shifted. A small, subtle drop in temperature. The kind you feel when someone steps into the room behind you. Or something. Another vibration. Don't look at it. It feeds on recognition. At that moment, I wasn't sure which terrified me more. The shadow entity in my hallway, or the idea that something else, somewhere, was trying to protect me. The shadow in the corner of the camera feed thickened again, like smoke gathering in reverse, pulling inward instead of spreading. Then it slowly dissipated, leaving the hallway empty once more. The phone buzzed. You're safe. For now. I didn't move until dawn. Part 5. Sunday morning, after the entity appeared. When the sun finally rose, I still hadn't moved from the couch. My neck hurt. My spine felt like it was carved from stone. Every muscle twitched with leftover adrenaline. I kept replaying the camera feed in my mind. The flickering shadow, the distorted silhouette, the impossible stillness when it looked at me. And the messages. Don't move. Don't look at it. It feeds on recognition. Whatever was happening, it wasn't random, wasn't chaotic. It was deliberate. Something in my apartment had intent. Whether that intent was to harm me or warn me, I still didn't know. I tried to leave. I really did. Around 10 a.m., when I had enough daylight courage, I packed a bag, grabbed my keys, and headed to the front door. I needed out. I needed air. I needed distance. My hand touched the doorknob. The phone vibrated. I closed my eyes, exhaled shakily, and looked at the screen. If you leave now, it follows. My stomach twisted. Another notification came a second later. You don't want it outside. I backed away from the door immediately, heart pounding. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how far it reached. But the idea of that tall, flickering silhouette walking behind me in the daylight, walking behind me down the street, standing behind me on the subway, waiting for me outside a store. No, I couldn't risk that. I let go of the door handle. The phone buzzed again. Good. The single word made my skin crawl, because it didn't feel like reassurance. It felt like control. I needed information. I needed to understand what the thing wanted, what the messages wanted, why they were connected, or if they were connected at all. At noon, I sat on the couch with my laptop and mapped everything out like a detective on a true crime board. Tuesday, the tea. Thursday, the oven. Saturday, the front door. Sunday, the fake call from Mom. Sunday night, the 3:14 warning. Saturday night, 1 week later, the entity. All warnings that kept me alive. All accurate, all precise. But the motives? Those were still a mystery. Then came another message. Around 1:18 p.m., while I was staring at the chaotic timeline on my laptop, the phone buzzed. This one was different. It didn't have the gray icon. It didn't have any icon at all. Just text, floating on the screen. Ask me. A pulse of fear shot through my chest. I swallowed hard. My hands trembled as I typed back. What do you want? The reply came instantly. For you to survive. A cold chill spread across my body. That sounded like reassurance, but something about it felt off. Wrong. Like the words were correct, but the intentions behind them weren't. I typed, survive what? A pause. Half a second. Maybe less. Then, if I tell you, you'll open the door. A wave of nausea hit me. The bedroom door, the front door, the metaphorical door, some door. I didn't know which. I didn't want to know. But I typed anyway. What is it? A longer pause this time. Then, that depends. Depends on what? And finally, which version of you I'm talking to? I felt my breath catch. That sentence, the structure, the phrasing, the calm menace beneath it, hit me like a punch to the ribs. Which version of me? I stared at the phone, frozen. Then, with a faint electric hum, another message appeared beneath it. You've died 11 times already. Something inside me snapped. A thin, fragile layer of sanity peeled away. I typed with shaking hands. What do you mean? What versions? The response came slowly, as if whatever was sending it wanted me to feel every letter. I'm not warning you from the future. I'm warning you from your other endings. I felt the world tilt slightly. The room seemed to grow smaller, heavier. Another message came. You think you're the first? My mouth went dry. Then, you are the 11th. A beat. The others didn't listen. I closed my eyes, breathing shallowly. This wasn't time travel. This wasn't a ghost. This wasn't an app glitch. This was something else entirely. A pattern. A loop. A recursion. Something that kept happening to me. Or to versions of me in parallel branches I would never consciously know existed. But some part of me, or something tied to me, was reaching across those branches, trying to stop me from repeating their mistakes. And something else, something darker, was slipping through the cracks between those versions, following me, learning me, imitating people I trusted. The entity wasn't an invader. It was a consequence, a spillover, a leak, and I was at the center of it. The phone buzzed again. I didn't want to look. Eventually, I did. It said, if you want to live, do not open the door tonight. I stared at the message for nearly a minute. Then a second message appeared. I'll try to stop you, but the others will try harder. My heart dropped. The others? What others? Another buzz. Don't trust yourself. And finally, not all versions of you want you alive. To part 6. Sunday night. Don't trust yourself. The rest of the day passed in a blur. I walked from room to room without purpose, checking corners, checking windows, checking shadows that didn't need checking. Every sound, a pipe click, a heater groan, a distant car, made me flinch. The sentence kept echoing in my skull. Not all versions of you want you alive. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't want to know. By evening, the apartment felt like a pressure chamber. The air was heavy. The shadows were too deep. Every instinct inside me buzzed with danger. Around 8:12 p.m., while I sat at the kitchen table with the lights off, staring at nothing, my phone vibrated. I lifted it slowly. A single message. Check the hallway camera. My pulse quickened. I opened the feed. The hallway was dark, but clear. Empty. Silent. I stared, waiting for movement. Nothing. Then, the feed glitched. A single horizontal line tore across the screen. Then another. For a moment, the frame froze in static. When it returned, something was wrong. The hallway was still empty. But the color was different. The frame looked dimmer. Like the shadows had thickened. Like the walls were breathing. I watched for several seconds. Then the phone vibrated again. "That's not your hallway." A jolt of ice shot down my spine. I leaned closer to the screen. No doors were open. No furniture had moved. No figure stood waiting. But the hallway felt off. An uncanny valley version of my own space. Then something changed. At first it was subtle. The angle of the camera seemed wrong. Slightly tilted. Lower to the ground. Like the device had been moved. But I hadn't touched it. The screen flickered again. This time, the hallway on the feed looked exactly like mine. But the light was colder, sharper, and the shadows pooled unnaturally at the base of the walls. The phone buzzed. "Stop watching." I didn't. I should have. The camera flickered once more. This time, someone was standing in the frame. Me. Or something wearing me. Same clothes I had on. Same posture. Same messy hair. But the face, God, the face. It wasn't neutral. It wasn't confused. It wasn't scared, like I was. It was smiling. A slow, stretched, unnatural smile that didn't belong on my bones. The eyes were too wide, too focused, too alive. And they were staring directly into the camera. My stomach dropped. I watched myself tilt my head. Too far. More than a neck should allow. The smile stayed. Then I raised a hand, slowly, gracefully, and waved at the camera. A single wave, as if greeting me. The real me. The version sitting frozen in the kitchen chair, watching in horror. My breath trembled. My phone vibrated violently in my hand. "Turn it off." I fumbled and slammed the camera feed closed. For several seconds, I could hear my heartbeat louder than anything else in the apartment. The silence afterward felt like a scream. Then the phone buzzed again. My hands shook as I lifted it. The message said, "That one is stronger than you." I swallowed hard. Another message appeared immediately after. "It wants to replace you." I couldn't think, couldn't breathe, couldn't move. My throat tightened. I typed with trembling fingers. "What does it want?" The reply came quickly. "Your life, your place, your timeline." I stared at the words, cold dread spreading through my chest. Another message. "Don't open the door tonight." My eyes flicked to the hallway. The apartment felt like a box, a trap, a stage. Something very wrong lurked on the other side of the bedroom door, or on the other side of reality. And then the phone buzzed again. "He will knock." My breath caught. He, not it. He. Another buzz. "He knows you're watching." Another. "He knows you're afraid." Another. Fear is how he enters. My hands were slick with sweat, shaking so hard the phone almost slipped from my grip. Then the final message came. "Whatever you hear, don't open your bedroom door." 3:14 a.m. again. Like every nightmare before it, the danger came at 3:14. I had barricaded myself in the bedroom, chair under the doorknob, dresser pushed up behind it. But deep down, I knew it wouldn't matter. At 3:13, the air turned cold. Colder than any winter draft. Colder than an air conditioner could explain. The shadows in my room stretched slightly, as if leaning toward the door. My phone vibrated once. The message said, "He's here." Then it vibrated again. "Stay still." The apartment was silent for a few seconds. Then the knock came, soft, polite, exactly like a person knocking lightly with the knuckle of a single finger. Talk, talk, talk. I gasped quietly. The knocking grew louder, more impatient. Then something pressed against the door, not pushing, not banging, just leaning. The wood bent inward slightly, creaking under the pressure. Then a whisper, a slow, dragging exhale, like someone inhaling through a wide smile. My phone vibrated again. I didn't want to read it. I did. The message said, "He knows we spoke." My pulse spiked. I typed, barely thinking, "Who are you?" For the first time, the reply took several seconds. Then, "Someone who used to be you." The room spun. Then, "I died in your place before." Another knock, louder. Another whisper, closer. Then the final message appeared. "He comes for the version that resists him the most." And below it, "Run." Part 7. Run. The word sat on my screen like a detonator. My body moved before my mind caught up. I yanked the dresser aside, dragged the chair from under the doorknob, and stood frozen, staring at the trembling wood of the bedroom door. The thing on the other side fell silent. No knocking, no whispering, no breathing. Silence, which somehow felt worse. My pulse pounded in my ears. I pressed my ear to the door, very gently, and heard nothing. The phone buzzed. A single message. "Don't open it, not yet." I turned around, eyes darting across the bedroom. The window, the closet, the vent, the darkness under the bed. Every shadow felt alive. Another vibration. Wait for my signal. My signal. God. I clutched the phone and backed away from the door, trying to steady my breath. And then, a sound. Not knocking, not the scrape. Something else. Footsteps. Slow. Measured. Deliberate. Walking away from my bedroom door, into the living room, then the hallway, then the kitchen. My entire body tensed. Whatever was trying to get in, whatever that smiling version of me represented, it was now inside my home, and I was trapped in the last room it hadn't entered yet. My phone vibrated. "He's searching." The footsteps stopped. Silence. Another buzz. "He knows you always freeze. Don't freeze this time." I felt my breath hitch. Another message. "He wants you to panic. That's how he steps through." Suddenly, the footsteps resumed, but faster this time. More aggressive. Coming back toward the bedroom door. Closer, closer, closer. The steps stopped right on the other side of the door. The wood groaned under weight. Something leaned against it again, harder this time. Enough to make the frame tremble. My phone buzzed. "Go." "Go where?" Another message. "Window." I spun toward it. 4th floor. A jump would break my legs, if not worse. I typed back frantically. "I'll die." The reply came instantly. "Not tonight. Jump onto the dumpster. You will survive it." My heart hammered. But something in me, a buried instinct, trusted the message more than the thing breathing on the other side of the door. The doorknob rattled violently. I swore under my breath, threw the window open, and cold night air rushed in. Below, the dumpster sat exactly where it had always been, behind the building, lid slightly ajar, piled with bags. No time to think. The doorknob twisted again. Harder, harder, harder. Then a whisper, a familiar whisper. My own voice. "Alex." The way it said my name, gentle, coaxing, almost affectionate, nearly froze me completely. But my phone buzzed one last time. "Jump." I clenched my teeth, climbed onto the windowsill, and threw myself out into the cold night. The air punched the breath from my lungs. Wind roared. Time stretched. Then, crash. I slammed into the dumpster lid. It collapsed inward with a metallic screech, cushioning the fall just enough to keep me alive. Pain shot up my side. My ankle screamed. My shoulder throbbed, but I was breathing. I was alive. Above me, the bedroom window snapped open. For a split second, I saw him. The other, me, standing in the window frame, head tilted too far, eyes too wide, smile stretching impossibly, watching me. Then, he stepped back, and the lights in the bedroom went out, just blinked out as if swallowed. I didn't wait. I climbed out of the dumpster, limping, gripping my throbbing side, and ran into the street. No coat, no wallet, just my phone. I ran until my lungs burned. I ran until my legs shook. I ran until the building disappeared behind me. I didn't stop, not even when the phone vibrated again. I slowed only enough to look at the screen. One message. Good. You're the first. My head spun. Another message appeared beneath it. Keep running. The sleepless hours. After I wandered the streets until sunrise, a convenience store employee asked if I was okay. I wasn't. I sat in a diner until morning customers arrived, ordered coffee, didn't drink it. When it became light enough, I returned to my apartment building, staying across the street. The window to my bedroom was still open, curtains fluttering. But something else caught my eye. My front door, the door to my unit, was broken inward, splintered around the latch, as if someone had forced it from the inside. Someone, or something, had been looking for me long after I jumped. I didn't go inside. I didn't need to. My phone buzzed again. For the first time, the notification had a name. From unknown Tlagos 7. My blood ran cold. I tapped the message. It read, "He isn't gone. He's just waiting for another version of you to slip." Another message. Most of the endings are worse. Then, "Stay alive, Alex. It's your turn to break the pattern." And finally, "Don't go home." Part 8. Final. I never went back to my apartment. Not that day. Not the next. Not ever. I filed a police report. Possible break-in, forced door, someone impersonating me. But they didn't take it seriously. Why would they? I didn't mention the shadows, or the camera feed, or the warnings, or the version of myself that smiled from the hallway. Some truths destroy your credibility the moment you speak them. I stayed in cheap hotels for 3 days. I switched rooms every night. I pushed a chair against every door. I barely slept. But oddly, the notifications became calmer, sparser, less urgent. On the second night, I got one that simply said, "He won't follow you here." Then nothing for hours. Then, "You listened. That's rare." It didn't feel like praise, more like observation, or comparison to something I couldn't see. On the third night, I woke up to the sound of my phone buzzing. I sat up immediately, heart pounding. A new message. But this time, something was different. The icon wasn't gray. It wasn't blank. It was familiar. A small silhouette, a rough shape, a tall outline, the same shape I'd seen in the camera footage. I stared at the icon, throat tight. The message said, "He found the others." A second message came instantly. "They're all gone." And then a third. "You're the last one left." My skin went cold. My hands trembled around the phone. I typed, "The last what?" The reply appeared slowly. "The last version of Alex that survived the pattern." I felt the world tilt. I felt the bed shake. Or maybe I was shaking. I typed, "What is the pattern?" The response came immediately. "You run. He follows. You resist. He replaces." I swallowed hard, fingers trembling. Another message. "The others made mistakes." Then, "You didn't." I typed, "What does he want?" The answer, "Your timeline, your path, your decisions." Then, "Your life." I felt my chest tighten. I typed, "Why me?" I didn't expect an answer, but it came. Slowly, carefully, Every word felt deliberate, precise, like a surgeon making incisions. Because you're the version that still believes you're real. My heart dropped. I reread the sentence and reread it again. My throat tightened. I typed, "What do you mean?" The reply came almost instantly. Every version believes that at first. Then, that's why they welcome him in. I stared at the screen, my pulse pounding in my ears. Then the next message appeared, the one that bent something inside me. There is no original Alex. I froze. My hands went numb. Another message. You all think you're the first. Another. You are all iterations. The room felt colder. My chest burned. I typed, barely able to think. Then who are you? For a moment, there was no reply. Then, I'm the version that tried the longest. Then, the one closest to surviving. Then, but I didn't. I stared, breath shallow. Another message. I'm not warning you from the future. I'm warning you from your ending. My vision blurred, my heart hammered. Another vibration. He kills the ones who think they can outrun him. Another. He replaces the ones who think they understand him. Another. He imitates the ones who trust the wrong voice. Then came the final one. He enters the lives of those who ignore the last notification. My stomach twisted. My throat tightened. I typed, "What do I do?" The reply, "Tell people." My breath hitched. "Make them listen." My hands shook. "Make them understand what happens if they ignore it." Then, you didn't survive to save yourself. And finally, you survived to warn the next one. The screen dimmed for a moment, then lit up with one last message. Because one of them will get the notification tonight. Silence. My hotel room felt impossibly still. Then the final message appeared, the one that still haunts me. And if they ignore it, he starts again. The message faded. The icon disappeared. The conversation thread erased itself, line by line, until the screen was blank. I sat there in the dark, phone in my hand, barely breathing. I never heard from that number again. But the next night, as I lay awake in another hotel bed, I felt the phone vibrate once more. I lifted it slowly. A new notification. No icon. No sender. Just one word. Tell. So I did. I told this story, exactly as it happened. And now it's your turn. If your phone buzzes unexpectedly tonight, if you get a message you weren't expecting, if the screen lights up in the dark with a gray icon and a simple word, don't ignore it, because you heard the warning. And warnings like this don't come twice for the same version of you.